Welcome to the Mobile Workforce Podcast, where we sit down and have real conversations with business leaders that have been where you are. During these interviews, we'll dive into what it takes to improve systems and champion processes that maximize performance. Each week, our trailblazing guests share their experiences and understanding of the workforce to help inspire change, challenge our thinking, and share what it takes to successfully travel the road to profitability. Now here's our host, co-founder and chief evangelist of About Time and WorkMax, Mike Merrill.
Hello and welcome to the Mobile Workforce Podcast, sponsored by About Time Technologies and WorkMax. I am your host, Mike Merrill, and today we have a fantastic guest on that we're really excited about, and that is Mrs. Letitia Hanke. And Letitia is the founder and CEO of ARS Roofing, Gutters, and Solar out of Santa Rosa, California. Letitia has been featured on Mike Rowe's show, Returning the Favor. She's also been on the Kelly Clarkson show, super cool. And she was named Residential Contractor of the Year in 2020 by Roofing Contractor. But Letitia is a lot more than just a construction entrepreneur. She's a founder of the Lime Foundation, a nonprofit organization focused on helping young people in the Santa Rosa area discover real-world opportunities in the trades. Hello, Letitia, and welcome on the podcast.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Good. Well, so how are you doing today?
Pretty good. I'm super happy that it's Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. That makes two of us. So you started ARS Roofing back in 2004.
Yeah.
So we're, 15, almost 20 years now, quite a while.
Whew.
And you've grown the company up to about 24 employees now. So how did you get started in construction, and what inspired you to take the leap into business for yourself, and especially roofing?
I wasn't actually really expecting to get into roofing. I was in college. I'm a musician. I'm sure you can see the drums in the back. So I was actually in college at the time for music and performing and recording arts, but I was broke all through my college career. And I needed a really good paying job. And when I was about 20 years old, I applied for a roofing company simply as the receptionist, answering the phones, filing. And I got connected at this wonderful company and started working there. And then after a few years, my boss decided that he wanted to retire and approached me about possibly buying his company, a few years later. And I'm just like, I'm not a roofer. I know how to run a roofing company, but I'm not a roofer. And he's like, don't worry, I'll teach you. And literally a few years later, after being in the field, I was able to get my own contractor's license and started my own business. So that's what happened.
Good work.
Anyway.
Every little girl wants to grow up and be a roofer. I know.
Yeah. I knew that when I was 9 years old. I wanted to be a roofer when I grew up.
Sure. Love it. So now that you've been doing this for a while, what would you change or do differently if you could start over? What do you learn now that you maybe didn't understand when you first got into this?
I was trying, in the very beginning, I didn't really know a lot what I was doing as far as being a business owner. I didn't take a business class. I didn't really know, how to hire employees really, because I got kind of thrown into it really. So in the beginning, I feel that if I had taken a few more business classes, learned a little bit more about finances, profit and loss, I learned all that later on in life when I'm just like broke. And then I finally, started learning a little bit more with my accountant about how to read my numbers, how to be able to do my job costing. And that helped me so much. So finance, learning a little bit about the numbers early on, I think that would have definitely helped me, be in a better position years later.
Yeah, I love that answer. I hear that a lot. That's the biggest challenge. We're blue collar people in the construction industry. And so the business side is often where maybe the gap could be.
That's right.
So speaking of that, kind of leads into my next question. If you were going to give advice to somebody who's listening that may have interest in starting their own business, or maybe they're newly started, what are, aside from finance and job costing, what are some other tips that you would give those folks?
Don't start with your own money. I mean, I remember when I owned my house at the time when I first started, and I took a loan out on the house so I could have the money to, get into there. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? And then the market like crashed and it was just crazy. And I'm just like, I'm going to lose all my money. And so, I recommend, and I even tell a lot of people now when I talk to them about starting a business is, there are different grants available out there for starting, a small business. And then there's other programs like Small Business Administration, the SBA loan, which is what I got to actually start my company. So, it's great to have that opportunity to actually have some seed money to start off with. So that way you can have a little bit of cushion, because that cushion becomes very important.
Love that. Yeah, construction's definitely not for the faint of heart. So
Yeah.
I feel your pain. I actually grew up in construction, had a construction business for over a decade also before I helped start our software company. So definitely know the bumps and bruises that you can take along the way.
That's correct. Ups and downs.
So also, you don't fit the typical profile of a roofing contractor. I've been to tons of roofing conventions and a little bit different packaging. So what can you tell us about that?
When I first got into roofing, I was I don't know any other African American roofers at this time, especially here in California. But it was a big challenge for me, getting started as a female, because I'd go to all these different, male dominated, networking events, and it's like all men in there, and I'm walking in, Miss Roofer, and it was a very interesting experience in the very beginning, because they just weren't really accepting me, into the industry, because they're just like, who is this lady that thinks she's a roofer? So it was challenging in the very, very beginning, but I pushed through.
Good for you. Yeah, I was doing a little research and I did come up with some statistics. One of the stats was that only 10% of the people working in construction comprised of women.
Yep.
So, and that's overall, right?
That's
87% of those, so 8.7 of the 10 were working in office positions.
Yes.
And then only 2.5 were tradespeople. So
that's right. Yeah. And 3% of are roofers.
Oh, really? Oh.
and then, I don't even know what the percentage of African American roofers, I haven't even made it that far to research to see, how many are actually, women of color that are in this industry as well. So that's a whole nother, set of numbers.
Yeah, right. And kudos to you for pushing through whatever those barriers may have been or may still be. Obviously, you're thriving, which is fantastic.
Yes, feels good.
You have such a positive energy and a vibe and just a fantastic smile, and I could feel your energy even through the monitor here. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Just talking about it makes me really happy.
I could tell. So even within that, so one other statistic that was interesting that I'd like to drill down on a little bit is only 13% of ownership in construction are women. So what can you tell us about that number and what's been interesting to you in that experience?
I think it's just because it is a male dominated industry that it's intimidating. I mean, you have to have a really thick skin to really, push forward and keep going in there, because, everyone that you're working with, most of the contractors that I'm working with are, male, or were in the very beginning. Now it's a little different. I've been encountering so many more women, finally getting into the trades. But in the beginning, it's just very intimidating. So, if you're not ready for that or prepared for that, I had really great mentors that, were women that were in other construction or other industries like property management, but that's really, male dominated as well. And those mentors helped me to just prepare myself for it. And they said, you're going to get this, and this, just ignore it and keep going. And I just always listened to that advice that they gave me, and I ignored it and kept going. So that's what got me through. But some women, and people in general, just, if they can't handle that extra pressure, it just makes it that much harder for them to focus on, what needs to get done. And I just focused. I stayed focused through the whole thing. And that's why we're where we are today. So it's been great.
Oh, I love that. And I love that you mentioned mentors, because I know that I hear that a lot. That's a critical piece. What would you say about the mentors that helped you through that journey?
It was just that they've been through it. So they were able to really kind of prepare me for it. And, I have business coaches as well. I mean, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing today without, really great coaches. They're both, females that have just really gotten me, even my therapist, I'm like, I have a life coach, a therapist, and a business coach. And they just really get me through that day to day and just keep me very, very focused. So, that's definitely something I definitely recommend, is that, if you're going to start a business or get into this kind of industry, you need someone that's going to help hold you accountable, number one, but also someone that you're going to be able to talk to when those times get really rough, because you have peaks and valleys. So just remember that there's always those peaks and valleys.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that. I know when we look into even the professional sports arena or other areas, everybody has a coach. The best people in the world have that third person perspective that can help guide and direct. And I love that you're tapping into that, even in business.
Yes, for sure. It's very important. They give amazing guidance on, the time management, helping me with my time management and being able to have family time, or even just my own personal time. I mean, instead of working all the time. So my coaches have helped me with that these years.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, it's a slippery slope, right?
You're working all the time. You're like, well, my son is 18, and I'm just like, oh wait, weren't you just a baby yesterday? And it's just because time just went by, so fast. And when you're working a lot, it's just like, oh wow, before you know it, your kid is 18 years old. So it's crazy.
Yeah. As an entrepreneur, the business will gladly take any minute you'll give it. No question about it.
That's correct.
So one of the other statistics that I was able to dig up, 64% is the increase amounts from 24 to 2019 of women-owned businesses. So that's a big number, and that's great to see. Are you witnessing more of that? Are you seeing that in your peer groups or among the associations you're involved in?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. It is so wonderful because I felt so alone. Like, this was 17 years ago when I first got, started my own company. And I felt so alone. The women that I would see at these networking events, they were usually the office manager, just like your statistics said. They were the office managers or the receptionists of those construction companies, but they weren't actually the contractors. So it was hard for me to really be able to connect. And so, definitely over the last 10 years for sure, so many more women contractors getting into restoration and painting and just all these grueling type, industries in the field. And I immediately gravitated right to them, and we connect with each other and talk about, all the things that we sometimes can't talk about to the males, and we can relate to each other and really have that, we can rely on each other and help each other through those hard times. And I've just been seeing so many more women, and I'm trying to get more women too into construction as well. So it's important.
I love that. There's this common theme I keep hearing, and that is networking and other people and associating and comparing notes, helping.
Yes.
How important has that been?
It's been great because I couldn't do this alone. If I attempted to do this alone, I would have been gone a long time ago. And networking and, talking to other contractors and this is male or female, just talking to them about, best practices. I mean, we're not enemies, even other roofers. I have other roofers that are my friends, and we talk about best practices and, how's it going for you and how's it going? And those things are very helpful for all of us. We don't have to be enemies. We can work together and be able to, create something even better if we're actually working together to make the industry a little better. So that's been very valuable for me to have that networking.
Oh, I absolutely love that. So it sounds like things are really moving the right direction, which is just fantastic.
Yes.
There's still probably some barriers and some challenges. Have you had some experiences where you feel like you didn't get the job or you didn't get something because of these other unique things about you compared to the typical roofer?
Yeah. I touched on it a little bit. Number one, being a female already is just one of those things where, sometimes I've been other contractors have disparaged me. They don't even know who I am, and they're telling customers, "Oh, you don't want to go with her. She doesn't know what she's talking about." But I've had to deal with it as being not only a female, but also being African American as a female, when I first got into the industry, my very first encounter at a networking function, and back in the day when I first started 17 years ago, I just wanted to be one of the guys. I would wear, my jeans and my shirt and my boots, and I'm walking in just trying to be one of the guys, and I was wearing this polo shirt with my logo on it, and we were at this networking event. And one of the general contractors was hanging out with his buddies at the bar, and I just kind of walk up and they see my logo, and he's like, "Oh, you work for ARS Roofing?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm actually, the CEO." And he's like, "Ha, from the kitchen to the rooftop, huh?"
Oh.
And that's what it was like for me in the very beginning, was that. And I'm just like, that was my very first networking event, by the way. The first time I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. But being Black has also, experiencing the racism part of it, customers that don't want to shake my hand. I used to hide a lot in the very beginning. I would, sign my name L.R. Hanke, so they would think that I'm a man. I didn't have my face on anything. And I remember a couple that I encountered, I went to their home, to sign the contract. They didn't know I was Black, and the wife just like jumps when she answers the door. And, I'm about to come in, and her husband comes over, and I'm just like, "Hey, great to see you." And I put my hand out, and he looks down at my hand, looks back at me and down at my hand again, and he walked away. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, do I go inside this home or not? And I go in ready to sign the contract, and she's like, "Oh, I think we're not going to do the roof. We appreciate you coming by." And I'm just like, "Well, I've got the sample boards here, like you asked for, to look at colors. Let's just do that on your way out." And I'm like, "Fine, no problem." And I'm walking out the door, and the homeowner guy, he comes back over, and he says, "I just want to let you know we have an alarm system on our house, and if anyone tries to break in, it's going to go off really loud." And that's what he said to me as I'm walking out the door. And that's the kind of stuff that I've had to overcome and get through. But that day when that happened, that was about 8 years ago. That changed my life forever, because I literally went back to my office. And by the way, I told him, "Thank you very much for that information." Just, I went back to my office, took his contract, put it through the shredder, and then I completely rebranded my business. I put my face literally on everything. I mean, if you go to my website, like, my face is everywhere. And then I changed my name to Letitia Hanke, and I kind of came out, and in so many ways, because it was my way of being able to say, okay, I'm not going to hide anymore. And my business literally catapulted, from that day, because now people wanted to support a Black-owned business, and they wanted to support a woman-owned business. And that's how we've climbed to the top. So I should be thanking them for that. But that's what I've dealt with, over the years. So.
Wow, what a difficult and yet incredible experience. Good for you for
Thank you.
being strong, right? Doubling down.
Strong through, yes, for sure.
And owning it. I absolutely love that. And
Yes.
I'm very inspired by that. What advice would you give to other construction leaders that are trying to, especially women that are trying to break into this? I mean, what can they do to be proud up front and own that earlier?
It's a great industry to be in, construction in general, but, I love roofing. I think it's just a really beautiful art form. And, anyone who wants to break into construction, you just need to believe that you can do it. I mean, I was 20 something years old when I first started training in roofing, and I didn't think that was something I would ever do. It was never on my mind to actually own a roofing company. I knew I wanted to own a business. I've always known that I wanted to be a business owner. I was a little entrepreneur when I was younger, but I just took that chance and took that risk, and then it all paid off in the long run. So it's really just being willing to take that chance and that risk and trying it out. And if it fails, it's okay. Being okay with failure is all right. And what if it doesn't fail? What if it ends up being a multi-million-dollar company? Just take that chance and that risk and go for it.
Oh, I love it. Good for you. I love how you, again, have continued to just buckle down and persevere and push through, even among such ugliness and divisiveness. That I can't believe in, even whether it was 7 or 8 years ago, or, I can't believe in the last 20 years that could even happen.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. It's still there, but you put, now it's different because everyone knows I'm Black. So it's
Yeah.
great, so I don't really have that many issues, anymore. And they know I'm female right off. I think that was just a great decision to make. And now I don't have that trouble. They know who I am when they call me. So it's been great. It's actually been a blessing. So again, I should be knocking back on their door and thanking them for that. So.
Good for you. I love that. I hope they listen to this.
Yes, I hope you're listening.
So what advice would you give to companies that want to hire a more diverse workforce and want to help to improve those areas that we clearly still have room for improvement as a country and as an industry?
I think it's about changing your mindset. I know when I'm talking to contractors or talking about a contractor, a lot of times they say he instead of they. Is just starting to be more inclusive. There are a lot of females and young females that simply don't know that they can be in this type of industry because we're not telling them that. They're not hearing that. And so we've got to change ourselves, into always thinking that it's a he thing. It's not a he thing. It's a they thing. And if you want to be, have more diversity, you need to do more outreach. So diversity is in many different levels. As far as diversity goes, diversity is in many different ways. It's not just, your color or your race, but it's also, whether you're hiring women, people young and old, LGBTQ community. Diversity is a big whole thing. And unless you're reaching out to those communities to join your team, you're going to always be seeing the same people. So I just always make a little extra effort to make sure that I have a very well diverse team at my company. So.
Well, you're a great example to many of the rest of us, and I appreciate you sharing that with
Thank you.
So many great efforts. You're doing so much good work. I don't know how you do. Do you ever even sleep?
No.
Doesn't sound like it.
My coach helped me get sleep. My business coach. She's like, okay, so at this time you go to bed, and at this time you wake up in the morning and start work all over again. Yeah, she helped me be able to actually go to bed at a regular, normal people's time. So I have good work and home life balance now that I've had some really good coaches in my life.
Good for you. So with ARS, tell me in 2021, what are you excited about? What's next? What's new?
2021. What's next is just getting through this pandemic. Number one, I'm looking for that. I'm looking forward to getting back. At my company, my team, we do quarterly events. So we do like team camping trips and bowling nights and stuff. So I'm actually really looking forward to being able to do that again. With my team, because that helps us just be able to be a family together. I have a really fun speaking engagement coming up for the 2020 Roofer of the Year. That's coming up in Texas in September.
Cool.
Keynote speaker, and that's a really big thing for me because I'm actually going to be talking to my peers of roofers around the country. And that is huge for me through all these years to be able to do that. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm very nervous at the same time.
Wow.
And yeah, just getting, like I said, just getting through this year is going to be a really great thing and definitely a goal of mine. So yeah, lots of good stuff happening this year, though.
That's exciting. We actually, this is ironic, but I was on with our marketing director earlier this morning. We are just signing up for that same event, so I'm planning on speaking as well. So
well, I will see you there.
Maybe I can give you a post-COVID hug. We'll see.
That would be so exciting. I do miss hugs. I miss hugs.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a hugger. I'm sure the contractors are like, wait, she's hugging me. What's happening?
Right. So you're a hugger, a roofer. I see in the back you're also a drummer, it looks like, or somebody is. What's the deal with that?
Yes, I come from a long line of musicians in my family. I mean, literally, since I was 9. I've been playing drums since I was 9. I started off playing the trumpet when I was 7, piano since I was 12. It's definitely my way of getting away. The stress that I endure on a daily basis, my getaway is writing music, being able to, I play my drums at church, and I've been, growing up in the church playing the drums since I was really young. So it's definitely something that I love to do. And music is a big part of my heart. So
Wow, that's awesome. So is that the set that Mike Rowe gave to you that I
I
saw?
know the set that Mike Rowe gave to me is actually at the church still because it's
Oh,
huge.
oh.
It's a huge kit, and I can't fit it in this little room. This is my practice kit, but no, I left it there at the church where he presented them to me, so I get to play them when I'm there. So it was a huge surprise. Mike really just made my day. It was a great thing that happened.
Yeah, that was a tearjerker to watch. Actually, I
Aw.
enjoyed watching that too.
Oh,
So
I cry still. So every time I hand one of my students, the tools, because at the end you saw all those tools that he gave to us,
yes,
and now we get to give them to like our students from our academy, and it's just I cry every time. So yeah, it's definitely one of my
yeah,
favorite.
yeah, it's awesome. It's a Dewalt tool kit, and it looked, if I remember right, it was
Yep.
about $65,000 worth of tools that he donated to your school.
Yep.
Mm,
And now they're not having to spend, $500, $600, for tools. And it's been really great. So
that's oh, fantastic. Love to hear that.
thank you.
Well, so kind of wrapping up the conversation side of things, I wanted to ask you a few more personal questions.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
Nothing too crazy.
Okay.
So in your life, your work life balance, whatever it is, what's been one of the key differentiators that's helped you find success? I feel like you're successful. What what do you think?
Well, prayer. Prayer.
Okay.
I mean, prayer has gotten me through some of the worst, and the best times of my life through this career. But again, earlier I mentioned just I know I said it already, but it's really been all of my mentors. It's been having someone to speak to and talk to about the business part and the life part, and figuring out how to be able to have that fun and persevere through the best and the worst times. I mean, here where I live in Santa Rosa, we've had so many fires, so many
Mhm.
huge fires, and just, different opportunities for us to like not persevere through it. And yet we kept getting through it. And my mentors and my coaches have really helped me be able to stay focused. It's just about staying focused and having your mind on the prize. And for me, it's just being able to keep my employees working and helping them take care of their families. And so that's been the greatest thing that I can say right now, is just being able to have my prayer nights and talking and listening and implementing the things that my coaches tell me to do. So that's been definitely my saving grace.
Good for you. I'm a person of faith, and prayer is very helpful
Yes,
and necessary for me too. So
yes,
I appreciate you sharing that. And really, I mean, again, being honest, you don't think of, oh, the roofer, what a blessing in my life. But when your roof's leaking and somebody comes to fix it so you can get
yes.
back to normalcy, right?
That is
Or
correct.
fires, or I mean, my goodness,
Exactly,
people
exactly.
can't go back home.
Windstorms. I mean, the list goes on. Yes, I mean, we come to their rescue, and we're there to take care of them and keep them. I say safe and dry, and that's literally what we do. So yeah, we're a very important part of construction, keeping that roof over their heads, right?
Yeah, good for you. Well, so speaking of, also another, I guess, question that I like to ask everybody is, what is Letitia's superpower?
Super.
Yeah, when you put your cape on,
Oh my gosh. No, I think it's my passion. I have to say, it's just I have passion for life, passion for people. That's really, I think no, for sure, that's the thing that keeps me going. If you're going to call that my superpower, it's just I genuinely care for others and want to see others succeed. I've had people that have come to my rescue and had passion to help me through my hard times, and I just like to pay that forward. And I think that's really one of the, if you ask my friends and family, they would say that my passion is definitely, I would say, my superpower, because it's what keeps me going and making sure that I can always help others whenever I can. So yeah, I would say that.
well, You clearly have a kind heart to plug that passion into, because that shows also.
Thank you very much.
All right. So to wrap up, what would you hope that the listeners come away with in our conversation today?
I've said a lot of stuff.
You did.
Um, I would. I think the one thing is, and I may have mentioned it earlier, is just don't be afraid to take chances. Um, in my life, the risks and the chances that I've taken to just try it, to give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen? That's literally what I've been doing through this whole journey, and just listening to my gut and saying, okay, this this is something I could do. And I really feel that if you just are willing to take that risk and take that chance, it could turn out to be something absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I can literally say that's what's happened for me. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you, Letitia. You are such an inspiration, and I just appreciate the opportunity to kindle a friendship. I hope we see each other in September and get a chance to talk again before that.
We will, for sure. 100%. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, in fact, we've talked about this before. We're going to record a second episode about Letitia's foundation called the Lime Foundation, right?
Yes, exactly.
So stay tuned for that. We're going to do that next and release that in a second episode so we can focus more on the great work she's doing there.
Yay, thank you.
All right. Thanks again, Letitia, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right. And thank you to the listeners for joining us today on the Mobile Workforce Podcast, sponsored by About Time Technologies and WorkMax. If you enjoyed the conversation that Letitia and I had today, please follow us on Instagram at WorkMax_ and on LinkedIn at WorkMax. And give us a 5-star rating and review on the podcast platform that you listen to this episode on. Those ratings and reviews are very helpful for us to continue to bring valued guests and these valuable conversations to not only help you improve your business, but improve your life.